Hi guys. Hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes to join and then we're going to start. Oh, thank you. I am so excited. Yes, happy Valentine's Day, guys. Almost Valentine's Day. Not yet, but soon. Almost there. All right, one more minute and then we're going to start. Just make sure you have all your supplies and we're going to go through a list of our supplies too in a second. All right, 7:05, we can start. Hopefully, everyone is here, and if someone is missing, hopefully they can join us very shortly. And guys, if you haven't painted with us before, just wanted to let you know that the video will stay up here on our YouTube pretty much forever, so you can do it any other day as well. It doesn't have to be exactly today. Or if you have to go halfway through and you can't stay the whole event, that's okay too, because you can always finish it later from the recording. All right, now let's go through all our supplies and make sure we have everything that you need. First thing you're going to need is canvas. I will be using pretty big canvas, so 16 by 20 inch, the same as this one. As you can see, it's pretty big. That's what I will be using. You're free to use any size that you would like. It doesn't matter which particular size. However, as you know, we have provided outlines for you if you wanted to pre-sketch your canvas, because those are two quite complex shapes here. So if you got a chance to pre-sketch your canvas, those outlines that we provided are made for 16 by 20 inch canvas. So if you print them on a regular paper, they are perfect size for 16 by 20 inch canvas. However, if you want to do smaller canvas, you might need to resize it and print it smaller, or you can freehand sketch with me. I'll show you how to do it. Actually, the very first thing on this tutorial, what we're going to do is we actually going to sketch it. I'm going to go through it pretty fast, only because it's we're trying to keep it all for about 2 hours, and those are complex shapes. So I'm not going to be spending too much time. You can always go back to printouts and print them out and pre-sketch your canvas using the printouts if you would like, or you can freehand with me. It's all good, whatever works for you. All right, and so canvas, grab a canvas. Next thing we're going to need is water. So I will be using water. Very important, we all need this. Okay, after that we're gonna need a palette. So something to mix our paint on. Anything will work. For me, it's just a plate. All right, and of course, we're gonna need a couple different brushes. Now for this particular painting, it doesn't really matter what size your brushes are, how big or how many. What you will definitely need is either big or medium brush. Ideally, grab both, big and medium brush. Not ideally, either one is fine. If you just have one, big or medium, that will work. We will be also using our paper towel as a tool today. And we're gonna be dabbing with a paper towel. So grab a paper towel, that's very important. And you're gonna need a small detailed brush because we do have a lot of fine details here. So that's most important brush you're gonna need today. This one. If you haven't pre-sketched your canvas, you are going to need a pencil because that's what we're gonna start with. If you already pre-sketched the canvas, you don't need a pencil. And we're going to need paint. I will be using only primary colors. In my case, so first, actually, before we do that, what are the primary colors? Primary colors are yellow, blue, red, plus black and white. For this particular painting, I'm not gonna need blue, but I will need yellow and red because my yellow is more like a magenta, so I'm gonna mix them to make this color, and I'll need black and white. However, if you do have a good pre-mixed red that you would like to use, you don't need yellow. So just red, black, and white, that's all you need. And if you guys wanna change the color and you wanna adjust it, and maybe instead of red, you wanna use pink or purple or blue or teal, absolutely go for it. It doesn't have to be red. This painting will work with any bright color that you choose. All right, so that's pretty much it, I think. Yeah, I think those are all the supplies that we're gonna need today. Let me quickly see if anyone has questions. Can you still paint today? Absolutely. I'm gonna be checking live chat to the best of my ability, guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to just ask them there. Yes, we'll be available for viewing later, absolutely. All right. All right, so guys, if you can't see something or you're having problem with sound, I would suggest that you just restart it. Just reload the page, or you can close the page and join again using the same link. That will work. Okay, now I'm going to go through how to sketch it quickly. Again, if you came with a prepared canvas that you pre-sketched in advance using the outline that we provided, good. You can just hang out with me for the next couple of minutes. You don't have to do anything. And then as soon as we're done sketching, as soon as I finish showing the sketch, you can join me and we'll paint together. We'll move on to the painting part. So first thing we're gonna sketch is the tower. Where is the tower gonna start? I would say about halfway through our canvas. So do you see? This is about the middle of our canvas, right? And you cannot see, but there is a bottom of the tower right here. So I would say we're gonna start by putting a line right in the middle of your canvas and use pencil for this. Do not use brush. So I'm gonna put the line right here. And there is no particular size that this line has to be, or the shape, or the thickness, or the visibility. This is just for us to know where the middle is. That's all it is. So as long as you can see your line, it's all good. After that, I'm gonna put a horizontal line. And yes, you're not gonna see that line in the end, but if you don't put that horizontal, sorry, not horizontal, vertical, straight vertical line. I'm gonna put straight vertical line right in the middle. If you don't do that, you're running a chance of that potentially your tower leaning to one side or another. So if you don't want your tower to lean and you want it to be straight, you have to start with a straight vertical line and then work around that. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right in the middle of this part, I'm gonna put straight vertical line. All right, and after that, we're gonna turn it into a letter A. So it starts from somewhere here, not from the very top, somewhere a little bit lower. I'm gonna put one line to this side, one line to that side. And try to have both of those lines the same. So you want the left one, match your right one. Right one match your left one. Again, if they're not perfect, that's okay. It's not a deal breaker, but ideally you do want them to be the same. Okay, after this, I'm gonna add the side view. So I'm gonna add one more of those lines here on a side. You see there is not much space in between up high, and as you go lower, it's gonna get further and further and further from your first line. So it kind of looks like a tent, right? That's what it's supposed to look like right now. It's supposed to look like a tent. All right, after that, we're gonna put two more lines. So the same as this line is gonna go right here, but this one, do you see how this one is closer here and then it gets further, further, further? This one is gonna be on exact same distance. So it's like you took this line and you copy pasted it right here. So let me show you. I'm gonna start here. And you see I'm only bringing it to this middle line. I can't go further because it's gonna be going here. That's our next line. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. And it looks even more like a tent. And that's exactly what it should look like. So it's all good, guys. If it looks tenty, you're doing great. Now we're gonna start adding horizontal lines. So the first horizontal line I'm gonna add, it's gonna be about here. I would say it's a middle of my tower or a touch higher than a middle. So if this is a middle, I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna put it all the way through this. And then I'm gonna put one more somewhere right here. Actually, I'll put two more. I'll put one right here and one somewhere here. And right away, I can erase these lines now. And I will extend all that to the side. But you see, this was horizontal. This is going to be on an angle. Awesome. Now I'm going to add a couple more lines. So I'm going to add another 3 lines a bit lower. I'm going to start, I would say, somewhere about here. I'll put line number 1. And I'm going to add line number 2 and line number 3. And again, I'm going to erase all those in-between lines right away. And then, do you see this 2 lines? I'm gonna make it all into a curve. So it's gonna follow along here, then it's gonna curve around this corner, and then it's gonna connect to the top, and then it's gonna curve around this corner again, and connect to the other side. I'm gonna erase those lines. And I am going to put one more right here. You see a bit further on this side and connecting to the other side. I'll let another little line right here and right there. And I can erase the middle line now as well. Actually, sorry guys, this is supposed to be on the other side. Apologize. Oopsie, oopsie. All right. Yeah, because we're seeing this side, right, of the tower. And after that, I'm going to add a couple crosses here. Oh, actually, let's extend this to the side too. On an angle. And then I'm going to add a couple lines here. So do you see a cross from each other? Crossing each other. Two here. Then the same going up, as many as you can fit. Doesn't really matter. And a couple on the bottom as well. And on the side as well. All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to do this. You see our towers. We're still gonna need to add the top to this tower, but the structure is done, the main structure. So just if you need to take another look here, I'm gonna keep it in the middle of the screen for a second. And when you guys have it, for those of you who are sketching along with me, just give me a thumbs up in the live chat here. Say, I am good to go, I am ready. That way I have a general idea of how many of us are ready, how many of us are not, and so on. Good morning to you too. It is pretty much evening in Ontario here, but yes, if it is morning for you, good morning. Ready and good to go, great. See a couple of you already. That is awesome. All right, I see more of us ready. That's great. Awesome, 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 guys. So let's finish up our tower here. And I'm gonna add the top part. So I'm just gonna add like a bowl here in a way. See, more like a circle. And then a couple of those up. And a little pointy tip here. Now my tower is finished. So now I can move on to my couple. I'm gonna sketch my couple right away as well. And for my couple, there are many different places where you could start, but I personally prefer to start with my lady, and I'm gonna start with her skirt because once I position her skirt, I can go up and work onto my hair and umbrella. And if I run out of space and go a little bit onto my tower, that's not a big deal. I can work with that. But if I start, let's say, with umbrella and hair, and then I don't properly estimate how far I need to go and I run out of space on the bottom for the legs, that would be a problem. So that's why I'm going to start with a skirt, just to make sure we don't run out of space on the bottom. So again, I'm going to decide where the middle is, and I'm not going to put a full line. I'm just going to put a tiny little one right here, just for me to know where the middle is, because that would be helpful for me personally. Now, after I know where the middle is, I'm going to decide where the middle of this is, and it's going to be about here, right? So now I know where the middle of this whole bottom section is. And around there, I'm going to start a skirt. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put line down. Not all the way, leaves enough space for the legs. Here is our skirt. Remember, leave enough space for the legs on the bottom. Don't go too far down. Now from here, I'm going to add the body. So I'm going to add the belt first. And from the belt, I'm going to add the body. Going up and on an angle. And I'm going to add a hand. And I'm going to add a hair. So here, I'm just going to add the hair. And of course, you guys can customize your couple however you want. Everything is customizable about this painting. And now I'm going to add a scarf. I'm going to add one piece of scarf. And then one more piece of scarf. And of course, I'm going to add the legs too. So the legs, I'm going to start by putting straight lines somewhere around here. And then I'll add a shoe to make it a little thicker. She is wearing high heels. I'm going to add second leg. Second leg is going to go right here. And it's going to be slightly on a different angle. So this line is going to go like this. And then, of course, I'm going to add a shoe as well. Actually, I might make it a little longer. Let's put it higher. Change my mind. I put my leg a little higher. That's okay. I'll cover that one up later. And now we're going to add our dude. So I'm going to start by putting like a rounded line here. Then from there, I'm going to add a straight line down and extend it a little bit to the side. Flick it a little bit to the side, to the outside, around the skirt area right here. And I'm going to round up her sleeve here. I'll add a leg for him. Very important. And then I'm going to add the top of his jacket, and then a hat. So here is our couple. Now our couple needs to be under the umbrella. So we're gonna sketch our umbrella. And how I'm gonna do my umbrella is I'm gonna start by putting one line on the angle, I would say somewhere around here. So right here, I'm gonna put one line. Now from that line, I'm gonna put two more lines, but they're gonna be slightly curved, so they're not gonna be as straight. One to this side, and one to this side. And then I'll add two more. And I'll add the pointy tip right here. And I will connect those lines. Ta-da! Our sketch is finished. So I'm gonna give you guys some time to finish it up. I'm gonna hold the couple closer, close to the screen so you can see it better. And once you have it, let me know in chat, say I'm good to go, I'm ready, and so on. And guys who have pre-sketched the canvases prior, we're gonna be starting painting very soon. So if you're, for example, getting snacks because you had nothing to do so far, or doing other things, feel free to just start making your way back here and getting your paints ready. All right, I see lots of ready. Can you pause the video? Usually, when we used to do YouTube lives before, you did have ability to pause it and then scroll to the beginning or go back to, so basically you could maneuver that and go back and forth, but I am not 100% sure if you can now. I would say try it. Usually you can, but last time I did it, for some reason, it didn't allow that, so I don't know. I would say try it. Try it and see how it goes. Ready, ready, ready. Awesome. That's great, guys. I'm gonna give everyone another minute and then we're gonna move to painting. All right. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that you were able to rewind. So guys, if you need to look back at a couple of things, feel free to do that too. The downloads of People and Tower, I actually made them perfect size for 16 by 20 inch painting. So you don't have to worry about them being bigger unless you're setting on a printer, printed the image right to the edge of your paper, in which case, yes, it could be bigger if that's the setting. But if you print it exactly like it is on that file that we give you, it is 100% perfect for 16 by 20 inch canvas. Oh, it's so cute, guys, that you're giving shout outs to your moms. That's awesome. All right, I see a lot of you already. That is great. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to put this one aside, and I'm going to show you what we will do next on this painting right here. All right. So now I am not gonna paint this. However, if you want to have every inch of your canvas covered, you can paint this with white. Also, let's paint it with white. Why not? If you want to skip that, you can, because you can just use white canvas as your white background. You don't need to spend paint on that, but either one is fine. After we have that, we're going to move on to gray. So there are some gray, light gray paint right here. Do you see? It's very, very light gray. We're going to add that, and then we're going to dab it with a paper towel a little bit. And we're going to color the whole bottom with a very, very light gray. Bottom is not white here. After that, we're going to move on to slightly gray, slightly darker gray. And we're going to add it this way. So 2 lines right here. We're going to add paint, and we're going to dab it up with a paper towel. After that, we'll adjust a couple lines of that slightly darker gray onto the bottom part. Then we're going to move to black, and we're going to add some black right here as well. So we're going to add it with a brush, and then we're going to dab it with a paper towel. And then we're going to move on to our tower, and we'll outline. After that, we're going to position our branches here. So our trees, we're going to do them in black. We're not going to sketch them. We're just going to freehand them. All right, and we will add whatever needs to be added everywhere else, and then we're going to move on to this part. And then last things we're going to do after this black dries here, we're going to add red onto our trees, to the bottom parts, and we'll highlight with white. But for that, black will need to dry fully before we can move to that. All right. Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to grab this one, and I will put that one somewhere right here, maybe. And we can start with white. If you guys don't want to do this step, you can skip it. You can just use the whiteness of your canvas as white background. You don't have to paint it with white paint. But I know a lot of people do like when the canvas is painted fully and when there is no white actual canvas coming through. So we're going to paint it. Why not? So grab the biggest brush that you have. Grab some white paint. Put it on your palette. And I'm going to grab a brush full of white paint. So not just a little bit, a lot. Okay. And I'm going to go to the very top, and I'm going to color it. In my case, I'm going to go right over the tower, because as you can see, I can still see my tower perfectly right through my white. My white is not very non-transparent. It's quite transparent, so I wouldn't be worried about it. However, if your white is less transparent than mine, don't go over your tower. You don't want to lose those lines. And don't forget to make your brush wet in between. So wherever you run out of paint, before you refill your brush with paint, dip it in the water. Make sure it's nice and clean and has water in it, nice and wet as well. And then get more white. And I'm gonna go all the way right to the bottom of my tower, so until here. Guys, for those of you who are asking about gray, I don't have gray either. We'll have to make it. So don't worry, we'll make it together. All right, do you see? I will show you on a glare. You see the areas that are wet? So basically my whole top is covered. This part is already started drying up, so I'm gonna add a bit more paint there. And after that, I'm gonna put my large brush into the water for now, and I'm gonna grab a paper towel. So I have some paper towel here. Just gonna get it ready. I'm gonna grab a piece and I'm gonna crumble it like this. And that's what I'm gonna use as my brush to dab the gray. That's our next color that we're gonna move on to, is going to be gray. So you need to put two colors on your palette, black and white, and we will mix gray together. I'm using acrylic paint, student grade acrylic. So I'm gonna scoop some white on the side. You see I'm scooping some white, quite a bit of it, not just a little bit, a lot. And then I'm gonna grab just a tiny smidge of black, add it in, and I'm gonna start adding it little by little. You don't wanna add more than a smidge of black because black is a bossy color. It's gonna take over. Don't start with black ever mixing gray. You always need to start with white. And then just add it little by little when you're trying to make light gray. Because if you add too much, you're gonna need to mix a whole new color. Black is bossy. It's gonna overtake your color really fast. So just little by little until you get the right shade. And then you stop. All right, so this is a good shade for me. I'm gonna stick with this color. This is a good color for me. Do you see it's just a nice light gray? Can you use sponge? Absolutely, 100%. If you want to use sponge, go for it. So what I'm going to do now with this color, I'm going to dab up a line right here. And you see it's pretty thick, right? It's not a small line. It's like a big line. And now I'm gonna grab my paper towel and I'm gonna spread it and I'm gonna make it smaller and more transparent. Sorry, not smaller, more transparent. You see, I'm dabbing, and what it's making it look foggier on top. So it is getting lighter in a way, but also it's spreading it a little bit. Let me show it to you guys closer here. Do you see what happened? That's what you want. You want that foggy effect right here. And after you do the top, do the bottom. Don't do both sides at the same time. And the reason why is you need your paint to be really, really wet for this to work. If you do two sides at the same time, it is possible that by the time you get to dabbing, it's going to be too dry for you to spread it. So you want to keep it wet. So that's why we're going to do one side at a time. Now I'm going to dab the bottom. Again, we kind of have to do this fast because once it dries, it makes it much, much harder to do that. I'm actually going to need to mix in some fresh paint because it's drying up fast. So this fogginess is what you're looking for. That's what you want. You want it super, super foggy. And if you feel like, oh, my paint is drying up too fast, I missed the opportunity, it's already too dry, what do? There is a solution. Just add more gray and then dip your paper towel in white and dab some white right here. And you can blend it with white too. So either one should work just fine for you. And once you have this on this side, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to make a little bit more of the same gray here. Actually, let me move my canvas just a touch this way. So I'm going to start with white again, and then I'll add black little by little until I get to the right shade, which should be about now. And then I'm going to add some gray right here. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side that I did on my other side. I'll blob it on pretty thick. And then right away, I'm going to put away my brush and I'm going to grab my paper towel. And with the paper towel, I'm going to dab it up while the paint is still super, super wet. Because once it dries again, you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to do it on wet. I'm going to dab the top and the bottom. And I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second, super close as well. All right. So this is super, super light gray backdrop in a way. And you see they almost connect in the middle. That's what you want as well. And again, when you guys have it, give me thumbs up, say I am good to go, ready, and so on. And then I'm going to show you our next steps here. All right, I see a few readies. That is a good sign. All right, good to go. That's good. I'm going to give all of you another minute. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my large brush. And did you see I dipped it in a lot of water, so it's super watery. And with this brush, I'm going to water down this gray that we just used. So I'm going to make it super, super watery. like a dirty gray water almost. And with this dirty gray water, I'm gonna paint the bottom. So right here, I'm gonna add a couple of brush strokes. It doesn't have to be a full coverage. You see, it's a bit lighter. It looks a bit lighter than this because it's watered down. Alternatively, you can just mix in some white. That will work too. I personally prefer like a really, really wet paint. I'm doing this way, but if you want to add some white instead to make it lighter, that's okay too. And after that, I'm gonna move on to my darker color. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to my darker gray. So I'm gonna make gray that's just a bit darker than the gray I used before. And you can use your medium brush or you can use your large brush, doesn't matter, as long as you don't use the smallest brush. So I'm gonna start with white again, or if you still have some of that gray left, you can use that as a base. Either will work. And this time I'm just gonna add a little bit more black. This should be good. It should be about medium gray, I would say. And with this color, I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I've done with my previous color. So I'm gonna go right here, and I'm gonna dab up, but this time a bit less than what you did with your lighter gray, so not as much. And again, do one side first, don't do two sides at the same time. And then as soon as you have that, grab your paper towel and dab it up. And now here you can see both. You can still see that light gray here, and you can see the darker gray. So don't cover up all your light gray. Make sure some of it is visible on top and the bottom. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other side as well. And again, right away, I'm taking my paper towel and I'm dabbing it up. All right, so I have it on both sides. I'm gonna give you guys a second to do this. And again, when you have it, give me thumbs up, say good to go, and chat here. And then we're gonna move on to our next step, but we are in no rush. So if you guys need a bit more time, that's okay too. But also the video will stay up on our page pretty much forever. So if you need to maybe just take it slow, that's okay too. You don't have to rush through this. You can always rewind and rewatch sections of it. All right, I see some thumbs up. That's good. It's very good, guys. All right. And after this, I'm going to wash off my large brush. Put it aside. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to move to my medium brush. However, if you want to, you could use small brush for the next step as well. But I'm going to grab my medium brush. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the same gray. Regardless of which brush you use, don't forget to dip it in the water first for this step. And now using the top edge of my medium brush, because my medium brush is square, so if I use just the top edge, it makes pretty fine lines. So that's what I want. I want fine lines. That's why I'm saying if you prefer to use small brush, you could also use small brush instead. But I will use top edge of my medium brush. And with the top edge of my medium brush, I'm going to go on the bottom. And I'm going to add a couple horizontal lines, somewhere right here. And again, just because I can totally see my couple through it, I don't have to avoid them really. But if you want to avoid them, that's okay too. You don't have to go over them. And I know halfway through what it looks like right now, it looks messy and it looks gray and it doesn't look very pretty. But that's okay, guys. It's supposed to look this way. It's all part of the process. All right, I see some thumbs up. That's good. Good. Very good, guys. Awesome. Ready? Yes. That's good. You should be able to just scroll back through that line, you know, the video line. Should be able to scroll back a little. Thanks, Tammy. Good. I'm glad, guys. Now, we're going to add just a little bit of this gray on the actual tower, so it's not so empty and transparent. So again, I wetted my brush, then I grabbed just a bit of that gray. And I'm going to add it right here on the actual tower. You can color the whole thing, or you can just do a couple of brush strokes. Either is totally fine. See, so just it doesn't look so empty. And again, I know it looks a little messy right now. It's all part of the process, guys. It will get there. Now, another little thing I want to do here, that's not going to be done in my in the same color, is I'm going to add white. So I'm going to color the lady's dress with white, and the only reason why is because I want my red to be bright and I don't want to see things, but I didn't want to avoid her. So I'm going to just wash off my brush, grab some white, and I'll color her dress with white just to have more even base for my red. You see just a little bit, so then when I put my red, I don't see the background through it. Again, it's not a big deal if you do, or if you avoided her and didn't paint gray over her, that's okay. You don't have to do this, but you can. It wouldn't hurt either. So I'm gonna add some on umbrella as well. Why not? Thanks, guys. Yes, I personally really like this foggy technique as well. And what I love about it, because it also gives you this texture of a paper towel. So if you crumble it in a beautiful way, and then you dab with that, it gives you this beautiful design based on how you crumbled your paper towel. So I personally really like that because it's really unique. You will do the same painting twice, you will never have the same result. So I really like that part about it. After this, we're going to move to black, and we're going to add a bit of black here, but this time less than what we did in our dark gray. We don't want to have the same exact amount. So, and you can use large brush or medium brush for this, doesn't matter. Either one will work just fine. So I'm going to grab some black, and I'm going to go right here. I'm going to start with something little, and then if I find that it's not enough, I'm going to add more. I don't want to add too much. I'm going to be quite careful here. And again, right away before it dries up, you need to move on to paper towel. You don't have to use new paper towel for it. You can continue using the exact same one. All right, so this is my first one. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of black in the middle. And here to darken it up a bit. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this amount of black, so I don't want to be adding much more. All right, and I will do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, this is good. This is what it looks like. Now you see, we can see all our colors. We can see our light gray, we can see our dark gray, we can see our black. So that's the goal. You want to see all three colors here. And again, I'm going to give you guys some time to do this. When you have it, let me know in chat. Say, I'm good to go, I'm ready, and so on. And then we'll move to next step. And in the meantime, I'm just going to wash off this brush because I don't want any paint to dry on it, because that will ruin my brush. All right. How is everyone doing? I see a couple readies. That's good. How is everyone else? Good, good, good. Good. I see lots of goods and thumbs ups. That's a good sign. Good, good, good. Good job, guys. I'm excited to see how they turn out in the end, because that's the best part, seeing all of your paintings. Oh no. If the paper towel technique is definitely just not your favorite, what you could do, you could just dry brush with a brush instead. So you could just grab a big brush and only a tiny touch of paint on it. And you can dry brush, so you can dab with brush that's almost dry with just a touch of paint on it. Or you can even rub it with a brush that's almost dry and has just a touch of paint on it. Either one, either rubbing or the dabbing, will give you pretty much the same technique. I personally find the paper towel faster and easier, and I like the look more. However, again, it doesn't work for everyone. If it doesn't work for you, brush is your helper. You can do the same thing. You can achieve the same look with a brush. So you can practice, you can try both and see what works better for you. Or if, let's say, you went too far or you just want to add texture, you can always wait until it dries and just grab some white and dab off with a paper towel over it to cover up some areas. Or if it's wet, you can do, again, you can grab some white and paper towel dab off over certain areas, and you will see your colors will blend and they create more colors, more shades of gray. So that's an option too, something to try out if you need to. If you don't need to, don't do it. Yes, and it will be always looking better. The more layers we add here, the better it's going to look. This is, I would say, about halfway through. So we are at that worst point where nothing makes sense. It doesn't look good. It looks like it's not going to turn out. It just looks like, eh. So as long as we are past that hump point, it's going to start looking better and better and better and better. And that last 10% that's where it comes really beautiful. So just bear with me. Let's get to that last 10% and you will see it will all come together. So now I'm going to take my small brush and I'm going to go onto my tower with a black paint. So grab the small brush, dip it in the water, And then grab some black paint. And if your black paint is thick, water down. You will see that it's much, much easier to add fine lines and work with a small brush with the black paint if your black paint is more liquid. If your black paint is too thick, it's going to be very hard for you to make fine lines. So water down. If you don't need to, don't do it. But if you do, definitely water down. All right, I watered down mine a little. Can you use the other color besides red? Absolutely, 100%. So any color that you would like will look really good as an accent color for this painting. Thanks, Janice. Me too, me too. All right, so what we're gonna do is pretty much we're gonna outline the tower, and all those lines that we had in a pencil, we're gonna add in black. So it doesn't matter where you start. You can start with any line here. And also another thing to remember, they don't have to be the same. They don't have to be even thickness. They can be more like flicks, so in certain areas thicker, in certain areas thinner. You don't have to have it all even. If it's uneven, that will work really well too. Move this closer for this step so you can see it a little better. So my tower is almost finished. I'm just gonna add the top here. All right, so my tower is done. I'm gonna let it stand here. And I'll give you guys some time to catch up. And as always, when you guys have it, give me thumbs up. Yeah, and then we'll continue. Yeah, the lines do make it pop. So what do you do if you mess up your lines? There are a couple different options you could do. Option number one, just leave it. And when we add white highlights, which we will add, you can fix it with the white highlights. But for that, your black needs to be dry. Optionally, you can actually smudge the lines and make it darker. In certain areas, you can completely make it black. And then again, once we move on to white lines, you can add those lines in just white highlights. That will look really good too. That's another option. Hi. Yeah, guys, if you just want to hang out with us for now and paint later, that's okay too. Whatever works for you. All right, I see you're good to go. That's good. I'll wait a couple more minutes so we have a couple good to goes and then we'll continue. Can you paint it white and after draw a tower? Absolutely. But you can only use pencil on a dry canvas. Remember, you can't paint your canvas white and then use your pencil to draw a tower because it's going to be too wet. You'll have to wait until it dries and then draw a tower. So yes, it's possible, but you're going to need to have a drying break. All right, I see a couple more good to goes. That is great. Okay, if we are good to go, I'm going to add a little bit of red on my umbrella and the lady right now. So you can use your medium brush or you can use your small brush for this, whatever works, and we're going to need red. So in my case, my red is more like a magenta-based red. So it's more like a dark pink versus bright red. That's why I'm going to mix mine with a little bit of yellow to make it more like a fire truck red versus like a dark pink. However, if you do have a perfect red, you can use it straight from the bottle. You don't have to mix anything. Or if you want to use any other color, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be red at all. You can use any color that you love and it will look amazing. So I took some red and yellow and I'm going to mix them up for a reason that I just explained. And I'll use that color. And I will add, I'll color in my lady first. And umbrella as well. And I'm going to switch to my small brush for some very fine details here. All right, so this is what it looks like for now. Yeah, I see done. Done is good. Yay. All right. How is everyone else? Are we ready to move or do we need a couple minutes? Ready, ready. That's good. Okay. All right, moving to the next one then. For the next one, I want to dab off a bit of red right here. So I'm going to grab a medium brush again, and I'm going to grab a bit of red again. And a new paper towel. Don't use the same paper towel you used for here, because it already has black on it and gray, and you want a fresh one. No, I haven't used black in here yet. Black will be added much, much later. So I'm going to grab some red, and I'm going to add it right here. So again, I'm going to dab up some, not as high up this time. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side too. And yes, guys, no worries. If you have to leave, that's okay. The video is going to be up here after event, so you can come back any day and finish it. Whenever you have free time and an evening set aside for this. And after we have this, we're going to move on to our trees and our branches. And you can save this paper towel for later too, because we're going to dab up some more red on top there once we have the branches and once our branches are dry. So once we have this too, we're going to move to our branches. I'm going to start my branches with a medium brush, and then I'll finish them off with a small brush. And the reason why is, in certain areas, they're really, really thick, as you can see right here, for example. And in certain areas, they're super thin. So we're going to start with thicker areas. We're going to put the main branch first. And there are going to be two main branches on each side. So the main one here, main one here, main one here, main one here. Always from the edge towards the middle, not from here in, from outside towards the middle. I'm going to use my medium brush for this, the top edge of a medium brush. You don't have to go all the way. If you can only go halfway, that's okay too. And then we're going to grab small brush, and we'll finish up at the ends with a small brush, and we'll make some more branches coming out with a small brush. So what's very important with the branches is that they're thicker where they grow from and thinner on the ends. That's what you want. That's the main goal here. And also, don't make them too short. You don't want to have a short and stubby branches. You don't want to have like cactus-looking tree. You want to have nice and flowy, and don't make them straight. Have at least a little bit of curve to your branch. So let me show you. I'm going to grab my medium brush and some black paint. And I'm going to use the top edge of my medium brush to make finer lines. If your brush is not square, you can, let's say you have a pointy brush, you can use just the very tip of your brush for this as well. And I'm going to start for my top branch, somewhere around here. So do you see where my gray is? So somewhere around that section. And I'm going to put a branch. It's going to be a main branch. And now I'm going to actually thicken it up even a little closer to the edge. And you see, it's not straight. It's like bumpy. That's what you want. You don't want it to be straight. And then I'm going to add second one. So a little lower from black towards here. I know it's hard to see, but once we highlight it, that's where you're going to see that branch. And if you want to, you can add a couple large branches coming out from it as well. For example, right here, you can add another branch. Maybe right here. The rest I'm going to do with a small brush. Now I'm going to add the main branch. And you can make it any shape that you want it to be. You don't have to have it exactly the same shape. So again, the main branch and the main branch on the bottom, starting here and going this way. And then a couple smaller branches coming out from this one. Right here. One right here. All right, and after that, I'm going to switch to my small brush. So I'll wash off my medium brush, dry it on a paper towel, and I'm going to grab my small brush and some black paint as well. And with a small brush and a black paint, I'm going to work on those ends. So I'm going to define my branch just a bit. And you see I'm adding a nice long tip to my branch. And you can add a couple smaller branches coming out from it too. And you see the difference? This is without the small brush. This is with a small brush. Big difference. So now I'm going to add some smaller branches on the other side too. And make sure your trees on both sides are not the same. You don't want them the same. It's not interesting if they are the same. So just try to make them different. right, I have all my branches. And I know it looks a little bit Halloween-y without the leaves. It looks a bit on the darker side, which is not a bad look, but because we want a Valentine's Eve, we're gonna add lots of fluffy red leaves on them that will dress them up a bit. No, they're both in black. It's just I think one is reflecting a bit more light. That's why it looks gray, but they are both black. And also, guys, if you see blobs of paint there anyway, do you know how sometimes you get a little blobs like this? Smudge them, because we need our trees to dry pretty fast for us to start adding the red leaves. So if you see anywhere little blobs of paint, just get rid of them so they dry a bit more even and a bit faster. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes for the trees, and then we'll move back onto our couple. And we're gonna start adding other colors there. And as always, when you guys have that, give me a thumbs up, tell me in chat, say I'm good to go, I'm ready, and then we can continue. I can show you next steps. That's okay. If you throw, the trees are gonna look completely different once we dab up some red on the ends of them. So if you're not quite happy with them yet, that's okay. They will not look like this in the end. All right, I see a couple of reddies, that's good. Good job, guys. Wendy, absolutely. You can watch it anytime. It's gonna stay right here. All right, if we have this, we're gonna move on to this bottom part. So the first thing I'm gonna do here, I'm actually gonna grab my small brush and I'm gonna grab a bit of red that I used. And with that small brush and that a bit of red, I'm gonna add a couple of wiggly lines right here. So I'm gonna start on the bottom. I'm gonna try to have most of them closer to the bottom and a little bit less as I go higher up. Now I'm going to water down my red for this because, again, I find that it's much, much easier to work with a more watered down paint versus thicker paint, especially with a small brush. So I'm going to add a couple lines here. All right, so my wigglies are in place. No, guys, to answer your question, we are based in Durham region, Ontario, Canada. That's where we're based from. And then I'm gonna mix a new color, and that's gonna be red with a tiny, tiny dot of black to make it a little bit darker, more like a wine color or like a brownish color. This one, you see it's still red, it's just darker. And with this darker red, I'm gonna add a couple of brush strokes here. So from the belt, down, I'm gonna add a couple flicks here. A little bit underneath the arm. And a couple from the bottom up on a skirt. Just a little bit to make it visually more interesting, so there are more than one shade. You see now there are a couple shades of red. Darker red and lighter red. And you can do the same thing on umbrella. So with the same color, you can just add a couple flicks from the top down, just to create a bit more variety there. So do you see? Now it's getting a bit more interesting with the different shades there. Hey, Cordis, you're my neighbors. I'm from Oshawa. We're literally neighbors. And again, when you guys have it, give me thumbs ups, but no rush. Need more time, we can have a bit more time. All right, I see some thumbs ups. That's good. That is great. You can paint. You just need, as good as me, you just need practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the better you get. It really is all about how many hours you put into this. The more hours you put into this, the better you're going to get. It's not a matter of talent. It is a matter of skill. All right, guys. And after that, I'm going to move to black. So I'm going to color in our guy, our lady, no, not her hair. I'm going to do our guy, and I'm going to add some outlines on both people in our couple in black. But first, I'm going to water down my black a little bit. Just again, because it's easier to work with more watery black. So I'm going to start with umbrella. I'm going to add a couple flicks on outline of umbrella. I don't want to do solid outline. I personally don't like the look. I prefer it more like flicky and even. So I'm going to do a flick here, flick there. So that's pretty much it for my umbrella with black. I'm not going to do anything else there with black. I'll add some white, but later. Oh, Wendy, that's nice. That's a great gift. All right, now I'm going to color my dude. And I'm going to outline the lady's hair. And I'm going to add a little bit of outlines onto the dress as well. And a scarf pretty much everywhere. And shoes. All right, our couple is outlined. Yes, for sure. Guys, if you want to be safer, use a smaller brush. Small brush will always give you better results for fine details. So use the smallest brush that you have. The smaller, the better. Or if you don't have a very small brush, what you could do is always you could just use the very tip of your brush. So don't push hard on it, just use the very tip. And then I'm gonna add, do you remember those lines that we added in red? I'm gonna do the same in black. So I'm gonna start underneath my couple just to make it look more like a shadow. And then I will add them in the different places. And again, use watered down black. You'll find it much, much easier to work with than just straight black that's not watered down. All right, I have all the black details. And the only one more thing I want to do on my couple is I want to color the hair of my lady with gray. So I'm just going to make some gray, which is again just black and white, and I'm going to color her hair with gray. Alternatively, you could do any other color. It doesn't have to be gray. You can do brown, you can do blonde, you can do black. After that, guys, while my bottom is drying up, I'm gonna move on to the top. So my branches are fully dry at this point. Do you see? When I touch them, there is no paint. Fully, fully dry. If your branches are not dry yet, do not move on to the step. They have to be fully dry before you can move on to dabbing some red onto them. So if they're not dry, just take a little break until they are dry, and once they're dry, then you can move to the next step. But I'm going to move to my next step, and I'm going to use my medium brush. So I'm going to grab some red. Actually, I need more red. So I'm going to grab some red on my medium brush. Yeah, I'm going to dab up the ends of my branches. Not all of them. Some of them, or all of them. Totally up to you. And then I'm going to grab my paper towel, and I'm going to do the same thing I've done there. And do one major section at a time. So don't do red on all of them and then go back to dab them up. For exact same reason that we did one side at a time, because you want it to do it while it's still wet. You don't want it to dry up. And if you do everything first and then go to dab it up, it might dry by the time you get to it to dab it up. So you're not going to be able to do it. So that's why I do one side at a time. I'm going to go back and make it bigger. All right. Now I'm going to move to the bottom one here. And only then I'm going to move on to the other side. Yeah, you could totally use a fan brush, whatever works for you guys. Sure, if Q-tip works for you, absolutely go for it. Yes, if you got too much black on a dress, absolutely, you can just wait until it dries and then repaint it. The only thing I recommend is maybe start over again. Maybe do white. Remember how we added white here at some point so that our red comes out really bright and vibrant? So I would recommend that. Maybe add some white over all of it first, let it dry, and then do straight red. That way it's going to come out brighter. So I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes for this, and then we'll move to our next step. Darla, absolutely. Anytime that you want. And then we're going to move to our last 10%, the ones that will make it all come together. And it will look really, really beautiful. So next one, I'm going to grab some white paint on my medium brush, just a little bit. And also you can use the same dubby cloth because we're going to go over red, so it's fine. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of white. And I'm not going to add it everywhere. I'm only going to add it on the areas, do you see, that are on a dark. So the ones that are on the super dark sections. I'm just going to add just a touch of white. And I'm going to dab it up a little to lighten those up. Just a touch. only the ones that are on a dark sections, on a dark background. After this, I'm gonna grab a bit more white and a small brush. And with this white and a small brush, I'm gonna go on to my tower here. And I'm gonna add a little highlight. So I'm gonna add a couple highlights right here. Here, if you want to. Really, anywhere you want to add highlights, wherever you find it's most beneficial for your paintings. If you lost some of the lines, you can add them in white. You see, I did just a little bit, just a few white highlights. You can have less of them, you can have more of them. All that is good. There's no particular amount of white highlights that you have to have. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit of highlights onto my trees as well. So only on one side of the tree. And you see, I'm not making it straight. I'm making it very, very wiggly, that line. All right, you see I have all the highlights on my branches now. Aw, thanks guys. I'm so glad. I'm gonna add a bit more white on my palette and I'm gonna continue adding highlights. Now, next place where I'm gonna add some highlights is going to be my umbrella. So with a small brush and a little bit of white paint, just add a couple of brush strokes of highlights. Then highlights on our dude. and on our lady. Oh, that's good. I like making red spongy trees too. And then I will add some white, a little brush stroke. So remember how we did swirly, this brush strokes going up, wiggly lines? So we're gonna do the same in white as well here. And then I will finish up with dots. So let me show you on this painting what I mean by with dots. So do you see how here there is a row of dots on a bottom part of this red? And the same here, there's a row of dots on a bottom part of this red. Also, on some of those dabby dabs on our trees, I'm gonna add some dots as well. A bit more to the bottom and a bit less to the top, but just a little bit. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna start with the bottom and I'm gonna add rows of dots on the bottoms of the red. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the other side of my small brush. So not painting side, but the other side. I'm just gonna dip it in red and I'm gonna dot it up right here. Dots are not your thing. You can definitely skip it. Don't have to do it, but generally a dot or two only make a painting better. Oh, good question. Where can you post your painting once you're done? I'm actually going to send you the link right now. Or, guys, so as soon as we finish, I'm going to make a post on our Facebook page, on event page. So you page that we made for this particular event. So there, I'm going to post just a thank you post with a link to this video for those who missed it so they can find the video later on. So there in comments, if you want to post, that will be awesome. That is the best place to post. That way we have them all in one place and everyone who participated can go and see all of them, how they turned out. So for those of you who doesn't know where to find us on Facebook or where to find the event page on Facebook, I'm going to post it in chat here. Let me quickly locate it on my laptop. And I'll post link in chat here as well. So you guys can find it and you can post there in comments to the post that I'm going to post very shortly because we're almost done. All right. Here is the link to event page. And thank you for asking. I will post the tip and email here too, so give me 1 second. You're very welcome. All right, guys, I am, oh. All right, yes, if you had fun, I posted a tip link here. It's through PayPal. So I need, for those of you who use PayPal, of course, if you had fun, you don't have to tip me. It's not an obligation. This event is absolutely free. But if you want to, if you enjoyed the event and you want to say thank you for tipping me, I would never say no to that. All tips are always greatly appreciated. So guys, last thing after you have this that you need to do is to sign it. Because we are officially done. There are no more steps left. So feel free to just find a good spot and put your name or your initials or your signature, anything that you would like. I'm going to sign it right here. And if you haven't followed us on YouTube just yet, feel free to do that. We have a lot of amazing tutorials here, and we add every week. We have at least one more YouTube live event that is free every week that you are free to join. We would love to paint with you guys. We also do some Facebook Live events every now and then. So if you want to join us on Facebook, go for it. There's a link that I posted there. I'm actually going to post another link here just to our Facebook page because there are a lot of pages, unfortunately, that impersonate us on Facebook. But you can always know which one is ours because ours is updated, always up to date, and it has lots of information and it has over 30,000 followers, and impersonator pages are usually under 1,000 followers. So that's the way you can always figure out which one is ours. But I will post a link too. So if you haven't joined us on Facebook yet, feel free to do that. Because again, we go live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. So you can join us there live as well. Yes, thanks for joining us. Glad you enjoyed it. Do you guys have questions? Because if you do, ask them now while I'm here. I'll be happy to answer anything that I know how. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll be here for a couple more minutes. Aw, I'm sure it's good. I would love to see it. Please take a photo and post it on event page under the post that I'm going to make very shortly, I promise. Link to share the paintings is in chat here. So just scroll up a little bit. It says link to event page. It's not too far in chat. It's a little bit higher up. And again, guys, if you want to go back and tweak a couple things, the video will stay up here. So you can do that. Or if you really enjoyed it and you want to paint it as a gift, again, let's say you want to keep this copy and you want to make another one as a gift, again, You can do that too. Okay, good question. So, is there a secret to making fine lines, such as specific brush or just through practice? I would say both, no specific brush, but the better you brush, the easier it's going to be for sure. You can make fine lines even with a horrible brush, but it will take a lot of practice to make it with a horrible brush. And if you have a really good fine brush, it will be much easier and your lines will turn out good even without much practice. But generally, yes, H, use the smallest brush that you have. I'm actually using not the best brush. Let me show you. My brush is half destroyed, as you can see here. It's not a brush in a good shape. It's a brush that used to be in a good shape a long, long time ago, and now it has like one hair left. So it's not a good brush, but it works for that particular step because it's so small. It has one hair left on it. So you use the brush that has one hair left, or so the small detail brush needs to have a really good tip. It doesn't matter what number it is, 0, 3, that doesn't matter. As long as it has a really fine tip, that's what you're looking for. And it's all about pressure. It's how much you push on your brush. You don't want to be pushy on it a lot. You want to just lightly touch the surface of your canvas to have fine lines. Or you can push a little harder when you start and then slowly let it go as you go further. That will give you a line that's a little bit thicker and then gets thinner, thinner, thinner as you go out because you're lifting your brush from the paper. And liquid paint. It has to be liquid. You cannot get fine lines with thick paint. Thick paint lays on blobby. No matter what brush you use, even if you use the best brush and use thick paint, it's not going to give you beautiful lines. You have to use liquid paint. So glad, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support. And I love painting with you. That makes me so happy. Yes, good brush for detailing is much needed, 100%. And that goes for every single painting. Every painting that we do involves small brush one way or another. So if you're going to invest in a good brush, choose a good small brush. All right, guys, thank you all for joining me. Happy upcoming Valentine's Day to all of us. I'm going to let you finish in peace if you haven't finished yet. And again, please join me again. I will be going live next week, and Lisa will be going live next week. So tune in. We would love to paint with you. Bye, guys.